Welcome back to the Kicks and Picks podcast. Here a day early. I know we were advertising Wednesday for our Premier League preview, but we had a little conflict for tomorrow night. So here we are on Tuesday. So if you're catching us live, we appreciate you hopping on live. Join us in the chat here for our Premier League preview. If not, you can catch us on YouTube, obviously, after the fact, Twitter, and on Kick. I don't know if Kick's got continues.
No, we're on
after the
Kick.
fact that,
We're kicking.
We're kicking. Yeah, you can find Kick
Okay.
history.
Just
Yeah,
wanna
for
make
sure.
So, guys, how you doing tonight? EPL, more Scotty's forte than Nick and I, but we've got plenty of thoughts on the league as well.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've been kind of living off the drip feed of preseason games the last week or two, trying to not read too much into, star performances from 16-year-old players of the future. But I think I'm now fully prepared for legitimate club football action. I mean, that's what we're going to get this weekend. And then obviously we got a whole list of futures that we get to go through beforehand.
Feel good. It's like the longest short summer that I can remember, right? I mean, Leagues Cup was Leagues Cup's going on now. Sorry, it's on my brain because Coach and I are losing bets on it. Yes. Club World Cup really, I think, took up a solid couple weeks. I know we didn't necessarily bet it heavily, but my money, it was enjoyable enough to watch. There were some international games, and now we got the Leagues Cup, which, if anybody is into MLS, I got to be honest, it's a pretty fun competition, but it's got us through. It feels like forever. Now it's time for the big league, so I'm pumped about it. I think, Scotty obviously has been salivating. He's sending Coach and I, transfer updates and Liverpool news, and we're jabbing some fun at some of these other teams day in and day out. But I think we did overwhelmingly pretty good last year. I mean, obviously week to week, which is something we strive to do, but we had a couple pretty solid futures that came through last year. So good news for us. Shout out Mo Salah, who carried a futures bet for us as goal scorer. Propelled Liverpool to a title. So, I mean, shout out him. We'll certainly get into what we expect from him this year. But I'm hoping for more of the same. I'm pumped up, and let's just get right down to it.
Yeah.
What's up, Johnny?
It has been a busy summer, right? For at least club football compared to what we're used to. We usually get like the Euros or the World Cup or some of those competitions. This year it's been the Gold Cup and the Club World Cup, and now the Leagues Cup has been fun so far. We have lost. We've been okay. We've been good. We've been probably break even so far. We've hit a couple nice ones, and then at the same time, some of these haven't come through. We're looking at you Red Bulls and Columbus for some overs that we expected. But yeah, it's been fun. Actually, I kind of like that. I like the way they formatted. I didn't follow too closely 2 years ago, but I like that everything is MLS versus Liga MX until the semifinals. I think that adds a nice little aspect to the tournament this year. So if you haven't watched it, something definitely to get you through until Premier League, Serie A, and other European leagues kick off in a few weeks. For sure, especially midweek, it's a lot of fun. So this is going to be all about the Premier League this episode. We talked a little Serie A last week. We're going to talk all EPL this week. Because EPL kicks off before Serie A, we've even got the Community Shield this weekend, which we'll touch on at the end. So, Scotty, you want to pull up those futures for us?
Yeah, sure can. Ooh, let's start at the beginning here.
Oh, we got excited. Hey,
now we're good.
Yeah. All right, so let's just start off where most people go with the future, right? Which is to win the league. We kind of touched on this a couple weeks ago with Liverpool being plus 180. I mean, that's without Isak even in tow. He should be on the way. It seems like there'll be an agreement reached there. Arsenal plus 225, City plus 300. Those seem to be the three candidates to win the league most likely. And then it jumps to plus 850 for Chelsea, and then you jump way into the over 3,000 for Newcastle, plus 3,500. United plus 4,000. Spurs plus 5,000. So you see where it's going there. The books are basically three favorites, kind of an outsider in Chelsea, like that, dark horse candidate, and then everybody else is like on the outside looking in. So what do you guys make of these futures? Anything worth a bet in terms of those three favorites? Are those numbers big enough for you? Is it wait to see maybe if one of them gets off to a slow start and you can snag like a plus 500 or something? Like, what are you looking at there?
Me or you, Scotty?
Nick, you can go first.
Yeah. The first thing I want to say that what's like ridiculously jumping out to me are these massive, massive numbers, right? Like we know for all intents and purposes that one of the top four teams listed here is going to win the league, right?
One of the top three.
Most likely, right?
One of the top three. Like
the days like, but the books adjusted themselves after Leicester won the Premier League. Well, I don't know, it must be 10 years ago now. I don't remember how long ago it was. But they weren't hanging big numbers like this. Now, that's not me saying that Wolves or Brentford or Everton have any chance at winning the league. They don't. But it's interesting, and I think it's healthy to see massive numbers like this again. If you want to throw something on Brighton or Tottenham and they have a start to this season where they win their first 6 or 7 games, I mean, that's potentially a decent way to just have a little bit of fun. That all being said, that's just for my enjoyment. I will say that I think Manchester City represents a very good value at plus 300. I don't think necessarily that they're going to win the league, but I think they're the more proven team. I think they're going to have a chip on their shoulder. And I know Arsenal got their forward, but Man City to me still represents a better value to bet than Arsenal at plus 300. I think it's certainly the best preseason number we've seen on them in the last 5 or so years. So that would be something I'm looking at versus those two teams. I will say I locked into Chelsea to win, but I got plus 1,400. So that number has moved considerably. I locked them in at the same time I moved on Roma in Serie A. I don't necessarily think Chelsea are going to win the league, but plus 1,400, I felt like they were a decent enough long shot. At plus 850, that I wouldn't advise such a bet. Yeah, but I don't really see too much outside of that. I don't think any of these other teams have a realistic shot at winning. To me, it's between Liverpool and Man City for the title.
Yeah, I think the tough part here is there's gonna be teams that we like that we think are undervalued that we might actually hold off and do another bet with them in either top 4 or top 6, because that's the thing about the Premier League is you can get all these different markets. There are many that you can pick from, and so that for me it's kind of like trying to find the right balance of like, okay, yeah, I'm looking at Man United at plus 4,000. Do I like their business? Yeah, it's okay. I don't think they could be doing any worse, obviously, than what they did last year. Do I think they're going to win the league? No. Do I think they're going to be like legitimate challengers for the league? Probably not. But could they have a decent start? Be like a legitimate top 5 team this season, and their live odds at some point dip down to like plus 2,000, plus 1,500. Yeah, like I could definitely see that, especially like you said, Nick, if Chelsea's already moving from plus 1,400 to plus 850, similar movement for Manchester United would be probably more, cash in your pocket. So that's for me. Like I do think I'm probably going to buy a United future of some quality here. But I'm just not sure that it's going to be necessarily like to win the league. That one seems a little bit farther fetched. Yep. So I might hold off on that one moving on down the list. And similar to some of these other long shots, like, Forest last year, we had a great run with them through, 4.5 months of the season, and they kind of fell apart. And yeah, they sold off like Alenga, I think was their big move that they sold off, but they've made a couple of decent transfers coming in, got a couple guys from Botafogo from Brazil, and then they brought in Dan Ndoye from Bologna to kind of replace Alanga. So, I like Nuno. I think he did a pretty good job with them. They got to hold on to Morgan Gibbs-White in the very controversial move against Spurs. So them sitting down there at plus 25,000, knowing that they were sitting in the top 6 for about a month or
top
so.
3 for
it's plus 25,000. That's a high enough number that it's worth taking a shot. But again, is it better to take a shot on something closer to like a top 6 with them at that range? That might be more, realistic. So those are kind of the clubs I'm looking at now. If you are looking at like locking in somebody and holding the ticket, no cash outs, yeah, City plus 300 is probably the right number. They did their business early. They had a Club World Cup to kind of get like a semi-season under their belt before the season really began. So they might come in and, get out to a hot start, regardless of who they play. They've just had that time and like real competition to already form a little bit of a, rapport with each other. So yeah, plus 300 at City, that's probably the best of the 3 because frankly, it's probably going to be a 3-horse race all the way through March into April at the very least.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think you're locking in any of these teams really at the numbers they're at. I think Liverpool's going to be the favorite for a reason. And, so without Isak coming in, Wirtz is already here. I think they're going to be favored to repeat, and that's why the books have them there at plus 180. That number might even go down once Isak arrives. So I think big numbers on these other teams are interesting, but I agree. I think we're looking at top 4, top 6. Some of those other interesting props that you can get in the EPL that you can't get in, say, Serie A, right? We're limited to just top 4 and winner and relegation. So a lot of interesting little props we're going to go through for futures that maybe you can find some value in and a more likely winner. Because to me, Liverpool plus 180, I'm not locking in too much money to a plus 180, and then City ends up winning it at plus 300 or something. But
Right. And you know, the thing I always kind of say, and John, yes, it is Pep's last season. Allegedly, we'll see. You know, things change, obviously, but last year of his contract, he said it's his last year. If you want Liverpool plus 180, like my thoughts on something like that, you can manufacture a Liverpool plus 180 on every single game this year. So don't get out of bed for something like that. To Coach's point, they are deserved favorites. They've made some really good signings that, you know, we've talked about over the summer. So rooting for you, Scotty. I hope they get it home, but I don't think anybody's putting a bet on plus 180.
No, not worth it. Should we look at some of the other top markets, I'd say, for top teams in this case?
Let's do it.
So we got top four. A little bit different because it seems like top five is now Champions League, but you know, we'll keep the traditions, go with top four. Obviously, the three-horse race that we already talked about between Liverpool, Arsenal, and City are unplayable. Chelsea, surprisingly, probably not playable with a minus number.
No way.
Again, they came on strong. They did pretty well all throughout last season, but I don't know, Nick, I'm going to borrow your phrase. Like, to me, they have to prove it. And they seem to be a club over the last 5 years that's really struggled to prove it over the course of a 7-month season. And then after that, you get into some of the maybe more playable numbers. Newcastle at plus 190, a bit of a surprise to me. I have a pick with them later on in this selections. United at plus 400, certainly playable. Villa plus 400. Tottenham plus 500. Champions League Tottenham plus 500. And then you get bigger numbers. Brighton at 1,600. Forest at plus 2,800. Everton plus 2,800. Bournemouth plus 2,800. And then Palace, who did well last season but are getting picked apart, might be losing Etse as well at plus 3,000. Tough story for them after winning their first major trophy to be that deep in the odds for top four. So I don't know, Coach, you want to start since you had to go last on the last one?
Yeah, I mean, maybe you play United if that Šeško move is going to go through. He seems to be preferring them over Newcastle, which I think gives them value at plus 400. Like, to me, Chelsea's the fourth best team currently. They had a really good Club World Cup, and I think that is why the odds jumped since Nick played it. And at minus 155, though, you're not locking in any future at minus 155. It's worthless, right? You could do that on a game-to-game basis, like Nick said, with, you know, constructing Liverpool ticket at plus 180. I think if you're going to look for a value here, I think it's United at plus 400 in terms of a likely contender for top four with the moves they've made. But if you're looking for someone that maybe you put it in and then you can cash out at some point if they start hot again, I would probably look to Forest. Like Scott said, they haven't lost a lot. They've had a pretty good market so far, and Ndoye was a really good player in Serie A last year. And I think at plus 2,800 gives you a cash out option if they have a good first couple months and they're hanging around there maybe. But I'm not buying any of these other teams really for top four at this point. Definitely not Spurs. Villa would have to prove that they can bounce back. Definitely not Newcastle with what they're losing in Isak. So yeah, I think if I was gonna say this is the team I trust the most, and it's hard for me to say trust because of saying it's United after what they've done the last few years. I think in terms of who they've brought in, it makes them the most attractive at that number. I should say probably.
Yeah, I mean, let me start by saying, and you know, I know we have some somewhat viewers that have been with us for a couple of years. I think you know our strategy. If you're new to the show, for markets like this, for futures, first and foremost, I think we're always looking for, you know, plus 400 or better to even kind of consider something like this. You got, in my mind, you have to look at two different scenarios. Scenario one, who's the best team at the best value that can actually get this done? Yeah. And then scenario two, who's the long shot with the most realistic chance to get something done, right? So you guys mentioned United. I think that's really interesting. You know, we talked about Amorim a lot last year. It seemed to me like he was trying to tank. Like I mean, not seemed to me. I think we could agree he was
didn't really have to try.
Yeah. Team wasn't very
that
good.
Club don't really try.
Team wasn't very good. Let's put that out there. But it was not anything that he wanted. He wanted the job. He wanted the position. He did not want the squad that he had. So he set them up accordingly, right? So he was able to come in and say, hey, there's nowhere to go but up for us. You know, we still did make it to a European final, and now I want the players that I want, and we're going to start from scratch. And they definitely represent the biggest come up to me. It's almost like Milan in Italy that we talked about last week. So I see where your guys' head's at. I think Villa has been a great story for the past couple of years. They're kind of getting picked apart. They've kind of shown that it's tough for them. week in and week out in two competitions. They were decently consistent, but they definitely went through those lulls. Tottenham, no way. I don't know. New manager, I mean, could be a positive new manager, but there's just too much chaos surrounding that team, the ownership, everything. So I'm kind of with you on United. Then it's just so funny to me to see Everton at the same number as Forest, at the same number as Bournemouth. This is Everton who's fighting relegation 5 of the past 6 years. Yeah. So good for them, but Brighton probably, or Forest are the next ones. Hope they get off to a really hot start, and then you make your decision from there.
Yeah. I think you guys pretty much covered it all. Like I said, I think this is probably where I would take my shot with United. Plus 400 is certainly playable. I can see them being, in the top 5 all season long. And that number might come down to if Chelsea is struggling a little bit.
Disagree with me. I know you're going to disagree with me, but maybe Steve will agree with me. Like, EPL is better when United's relevant. I just think it is. That's just kind of
someone. You always want a team to hate, right? City's an easy team to hate from an outsider perspective because, you and I don't really have we don't generally have a horse in the race, right? We don't have a favorite team per se. I tend to root for certain players when they're in the league, or maybe there's a feel good story like when Leicester was there. When certain teams have a lot of Italians, the internationals will root for those teams, but it happens from time to time, right? But we don't really have an attachment like Scotty does. So when the United is relevant, you like to root against United. I since when I started following Rome in mid 2000s, they hammered Rome in the Champions League. Ever since then, do not like them, right? So I think in that sense it does make the league more fun, right? It's the same thing in American sports, right? When certain teams are relevant, it makes the league more fun because that's usually a team you either love or you hate. And I think in that sense that's true. And I think as much as it's been fun to kick them when they're down, it does make the league better. Just like when the Milan clubs were down in Italy, right? It was kind of fun to see them in their banter eras, but the league is better now, right? The league is deeper. It's more fun to watch, more competitive. And I think if United becomes relevant again and becomes that 5th true competitor for those spots with Chelsea and Arsenal and City and Liverpool, the league is better for it.
Yeah, I mean, if those are your top 4, and then you have, the likes of Spurs and, Newcastle kind of lurking below, maybe Villa, if they can get some sustained success here. Yeah, I think it's a super competitive league, 1 through 8, really. And then everybody else is still kind of battling for, keeping in out of relegation play, maybe sneaking into a top 6 or top 7 spot, getting into Europe. It does make it for a very competitive league. And the longer these clubs are staying up, we know how much money the Premier League is making in TV revenues. Yeah. And that kind of allows them to kind of sneak in. So I think that's why you're seeing, some of these clubs that have been sticking around for 5 or 6 years actually making, solid progress into domestic cups and, sneaking into, like I said, the Europa or Conference League, which then begets more revenue. So I think
before we move, would you agree that Aston Villa is the worst value on this board here?
No, Newcastle is the worst value here.
Probably Newcastle is what's happening with these.
Plus 190. I just ignored them. Okay, yeah. Gross.
Yeah, no, that's, I have a pick for them later on. I won't spoil it, but you can probably see where I'm going.
Is it bottom 10?
It might be. And then the only other one here, Brighton plus 1,600. I feel like Brighton is one of those clubs that they produce talent so well. They have another 18-year-old striker coming in from Turkey. I won't even try to say his name. It's Greek. But could he become this guy that puts in 15 goals, right? Matoma missed a lot of the season last year, and he's, I think, probably one of the most underrated wingers in the Premier League right now with what he can do. But with all the time he missed last season, I think people kind of have forgotten about him. Their defense looks pretty good. The Van Heck is probably another guy that's going to be a top defender in the league. Carlos Baleba is probably going to be the next £100 million midfielder that moves next summer. Dude's getting super talented. So I could see Brighton kind of putting together a good run here. Just got to hope that, they can kind of keep everything together and avoid injuries like they did last year. So that's probably my other place I would look at for this one.
No, love it. It sounds like we're all on the same page.
Top 10, a little trickier because now you're looking at teams that probably, if you look at it, have to consider relegation battle as at least a possibility in their season. But we're going to go the other way and say, actually, they're going to surprise some people. When you have some of these top teams like Tottenham and United playing really, really poorly, that opens up some of these, forgotten spots in the top 10. Which of these teams can sneak in? Nick, you were talking about Everton being same odds as Champions League as, Bournemouth and Fulham, I think it was. Do you see them maybe continuing on this momentum under Moyes and getting back into the top 10? I mean, they were for a long time under Moyes a top 6, top 7 team, being a legitimate competitor to Liverpool for best team on Merseyside.
Listen, I have enjoyed the rise of Everton because it gives us something to talk about every week with no matter who they're playing. They've played spoiler now for the past year and a half. They were actually really consistent last year, and the year before they had the points deduction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is why they actually finished way better
6 points.
Right. So it could happen. I will say that I like it better than probably Palace. I like it better than Fulham. I like it better than West Ham. But Forest to me is probably the team that was in the top 10 that stays in the top 10 for me. I mean, I don't know that I'm going to place a plus 130, but do we think they're going to fall that much further behind, or do you trust Bournemouth to bad example. Bournemouth could do it too. I like that plus 150 now that I'm looking at it, but like Palace, you don't know what you're getting from them week in and week out. I think Fulham is on the downward slope for the past 2 years. West Ham, no chance. Wolves, we'll talk about them in a little bit, and I don't think any of the promoted clubs have a shot.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add. I would say that Forest, I think, is not a lock to be top 10, but I like their chance to be top 10. But at plus 130, how are you really going to put down much money on plus 130? It's not really worth it, right? You could get them as an underdog against one top 8 teams any week on the road, and they pull it off an upset, and you get your plus 130. So probably not going to place anything on any of these. I don't love the numbers enough to really take a shot at anybody. But I think Forest at plus 130 is, for a plus money pick, is the most likely.
Yeah, this is one where it's, if I hate to say it, but like if you're, one of these teams that's kind of destined for the top or bottom 5, sneaking into the top 10 almost becomes a death sentence, because then your manager kind of gets poached by not necessarily somebody in the Premier League, but like another top manager position in Europe. And then you're kind of left scrambling with a shoestring budget, trying to find somebody to replace him, and down you go. So you kind of almost want if you're going to be a relegation team surviving relegation, you kind of almost want to finish like 15th place. Like, just keep us there. Let's get some of this money in. Let this manager build a roster, maybe give, your manager a little bit of a raise, and then build from there. The team that I would kind of call out, West Ham has been an enigma. They were in Europa, or were they? Yeah, they were Europa like 3 years ago, right? Yeah. So, and here they are, 6th longest odds to finish in the top 10.
I mean, what
they still
I
have
can
good players.
say is Michele Antonio, he has to be retired at this point.
Yeah,
right?
No, he's done. Yeah. Well, he got into a car accident, broke his leg. He's done.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could make. I mean, if you thought he would still start after that, I wouldn't fault you for the line of thinking, because there was nothing that dude could do to get out of the starting lineup. They need a new cycle up top, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm not super familiar with the signings they've made, but if they've made some good signings, Scott, I'll let you talk me into it, because I mean, that was their big problem. They couldn't score for the past year and a half.
Is Paqueta still in West Ham? He was serving a betting suspension, but got overturned.
I think he got cleared,
he served
right?
a single game. Yeah, I think that dude was getting yellow cards week in and week out.
That's what I'm trying to remember. If he's still, if he still is on, because like that is like a new signing, right?
No, he played all last year.
Yeah. Okay. So he's still going to be available. I mean, Jared Bowen, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Kudus is gone. Souček and Ward-Prowse actually formed a pretty decent midfield for them last year.
Still on West Ham.
They've got players. It's just, it seems to be a manager problem where they just can't get the right guy to kind of string things together for them. But yeah, I mean, I would say out of all the teams with a plus number on this board, you could make a case that West Ham has the most talent on the roster, for sure. So I don't know. I think that would probably be my pick, plus 250. I'm not saying that they're going to be a top 8 team, but could they sneak into the 10th spot? Maybe, with the right kind of little bit of luck. I mean, they did, like I said, sell Kudus to Spurs, so there should be some movement on the incoming side, but I don't know. I don't like anybody else. Are we ready to go to the last little bit here? All right. Can't have a top 10 without a bottom 10. This is where you're looking at teams that are overrated probably one of our favorite things to do on the podcast, call out teams that are overrated. So now it's time for us to put our money where our mouth goes.
Yeah, the numbers are good, Scotty.
You know where I'm going.
Yeah, I know where you're going. I think it's the value play.
Look, it's Newcastle at plus 500, right? The real problem that they have right now is they have their best striker doesn't want to play for them. Will they sell him? I don't know. What happens if they don't sell him? Will he come back and play a full season? I don't know. But will he certainly won't return another 27-goal season like he did last year. Trying to get players in have been very difficult. I think they've been turned down by like 8 or 9 players already this window, meaning like they've had bids largely accepted by the club and the player has turned down terms, whether it's because they don't like the money, which could be a factor, or they just don't like the project, which I think is probably the bigger decision. So what happens, right? If you don't have Isak, you can't get in Ekitike, you can't get in Sesko, you can't get in Wisa. I mean, the list goes on. Who's scoring goals for them? Yeah. You know, like who's scoring goals? So it could be Anthony Gordon resurgent season. Wouldn't want to bet on that. Yeah, they brought in Alenga, who looked good for Forest last year, but you know, is he a guy that's going to carry the team, forward line for a top 5 or 6 team? Not sold. The midfield is great, but no depth. Already lost Joe Willock in a preseason game for who knows how long. Hurt his ankle pretty badly, it seemed. So you now have a midfield trio of Guimaraes, Sandro Tonali, and Joelinton. But if one or two of those guys goes down, it's a mess. And they haven't done anything with the defense.
They're all injury prone. Every one of those midfielders that you mentioned. And they had period like 2 years ago, Joelinton, he like carried them for a while. Last year, Tonali towards the end of the year carried them for a while. If you're not getting that again, it's tough. I'm with you. I totally like this pick.
Yeah, I agree. I think the value play is Newcastle plus 500 because of the striker situation. And
I don't hate Tottenham at plus 330, if we're being honest.
No.
Have they elevated themselves enough to climb 6 places?
No. I mean, they lost Son, brought in Kudus. They have a good manager now. I mean, you can make a case that
Andrew's a good manager. I mean,
Andrew's a good manager, but I think he was very stubborn in adapting when he had injury problems. And maybe Thomas Frank is better at managing the squad and there's fewer injuries, but they're in Champions League. They're going to be playing on multiple fronts with a squad that's bare thin. So the same kind of thing that we're going to talk about Newcastle. I didn't even talk about that with Newcastle struggles. They're playing in Champions League, you know, like they're going to be battling on multiple fronts again this season. And we saw what happened last time they're in Champions League. So I don't know. I could see Spurs 100%, but Newcastle plus 500 is just sitting there, just like asking for it.
Yep.
They're the only team that really hasn't strengthened this year, which is crazy because they have a Champions League, you know, slate of games that they're gonna have to deal with, and they're now on not even plan C and D. It's like plan E and F at this point. Nicholas Jackson is being thrown around as their next best option for forward. Ooh. Ask Chelsea fans how that worked out for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, if they can have, you know, find a way to lure Sesko, I'd say okay, but you know, without that move, you know, happening at Takite didn't happen before he went to Liverpool. I mean, this is plus 500 is a really solid number. I think for a team that we all think is going to take a step back this year, maybe 2.
Quick shout out to our boy Reno in the chat, LGN in the chat. Appreciate you guys joining. Those are the 2, man. It's Tottenham and it's Newcastle. It's Newcastle heavy, but I don't mind Tottenham because I need to see who's scoring goals for these guys before I can say they're jumping 5 teams.
Yeah. I mean, United has to do the same thing. They're sitting there plus 330. I mean, they've done a lot more in the transfer window and they might be the ones getting Sesko, but they at least have the same manager, right? Amorim didn't really look like he was going to be doing much of that squad. Do we really think that a summer is enough to whip the likes of a Ugarte and I don't even know, like, who are their other holding midfielders at this point? Casemiro is long gone at this point. I mean, their midfield is thin. They have Amad Diallo, who's a great, talented, probably attacking midfielder, winger. Bruno Fernandes, again, attacking midfielder.
Yeah.
Ugarte, I think, is really
there's not enough ball to go around for them, even like with the new additions. It's even worse probably with the new additions. There's not enough ball.
Yeah.
No, it's. I mean, the last thing I'll say is just it's interesting where we landed on United versus Tottenham, because in my mind, obviously we're talking about Newcastle taking a step back. The teams up top did what they needed to do. The 3 teams that are challenging for a title, 4 teams if you want to count Chelsea, the teams kind of in that next tier, the 5 through 10, I don't think anybody's significantly improved. So like it's kind of ripe for the picking for United. Whether they can do it or not is going to be the fascinating story to watch. But that's kind of why I think there's a lot of enthusiasm behind them. That's why I think these numbers are where they are. I don't think it's because of United's, track record the past 3 years.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Last bit, the dreaded relegation. So quick recap of where we were the last couple years. 3 teams get promoted, 3 teams go back down. Have yet in the last 2 seasons to have a team stay up after being promoted. This year, obviously, we have Sunderland, Burnley, and Leeds joining us for the 2025-2026 Premier League season. Do you guys like... I'll throw it this way. I mean, we're not going to take any of those 3 guys because their numbers, minus 290, minus 280, plus 100 for Leeds. Not really appealing. Do you guys like any of the established Premier League teams to kind of buck this trend and bite the bullet and get relegated to the Championship this season?
Yeah, I'll go back to what I said. One that is a decent value that I think is most likely to happen, and one that represents a long shot that could happen. I think Wolves at plus 320 would probably be my pick. They got picked apart. They tend to get picked apart every single year. They've had some good stability, but they scored a lot of goals last year. Goals that, Cunha was the guy, and they haven't done that in years past. They kind of stayed up based on their defense. So let's see what happens. I think plus 320 is a solid number on them. The ones I would take a stab with here are Fulham at plus 750, just because I can't name one move that Fulham's done. And ever since they lost Mitrovic a couple years ago when they were hanging out around 5th, 6th place, their goals have dried up. They'll go through a nice little purple patch. They'll have those games where they're winning, like 4-2 unexpectedly, 2 or 3 games in a row. And then every other game they're losing 1-0, 2-0, 0-0, whole lot of nothing. So Fulham could be a surprise struggle pick at plus 750.
Yeah, not much transfer action from Fulham this season, for better or for worse. So I don't mind that. I would say the one pick that I like in this, and it's sad to say, is Brentford. Obviously lost their manager Thomas Frank to Spurs. Probably lost their 2 best forwards. Mbeumo is already at United. Visa probably going to Newcastle. He's already basically said he won't play for Brentford again. Also lost Norgard to Arsenal, one of their established midfielders. Lost their goalkeeper to I think Bundesliga. They brought in a bunch of old Liverpool players. So they brought in Queeve Kelleher to be their new keeper, who I think was the best backup keeper in Premier League last year. So he gets his starting chance. Jordan Henderson makes his Premier League return to Brentford, trying to be like a stabilizing presence, probably taking over Norgard's position in midfield. But yeah, I think that team is perfectly ripe to just drop off significantly here. A lot more things can go wrong for them than can go right. And yeah, I mean, if Leeds plays well, if, Burnley can actually come through with a strong defense like they used to back in years gone by, they might be able to eke out enough points to stay up and above Brentford. So I think that'd be my pick in this
Burnley's got 2 things going for him: a badass kit and JJ Watt.
Yeah, and no more Vincent Kompany. I'd also say that's working in their favor.
Yeah, I'd go if I had to say that one of the not 3 newcomers goes down, the most likely I think would be probably Brentford because of the transfer market. Fulham's kind of status quo. They haven't brought anybody in, but they haven't really lost a lot. And Wolves, Cunha's a big loss, but other than him, they haven't really lost much either, and they've brought in a couple other players. So I think Brentford is the value play at plus 300.
And then before we move on, I mean, putting you guys on the spot because I don't have markets for this, but which team do you think fires their manager first?
Oh.
You could go either way with this. You could go with a team that has high expectations at the top of the table that underperforms. You could go bottom of the table where there's a team like, like it wouldn't be Brentford, but like Wolves, Fulham with Marco Silva that are struggling to start the season and need to bring in somebody to kind of right the ship before it really goes south.
I think I'm going to cop out a little bit by giving you a range, but it's someone squarely in the middle of this screen. It's a Fulham, Forest, Bournemouth, Brighton. It's one of those types of teams that kind of has aspirations, but aren't going to really get there. They'll, lose 3, 4, 5 in a row. They'll be chilling in like 15th, 16th place, and the manager will have to go, because I don't think you're going to do it. If Sunderland came out and lost their first 8 games, could they fire the manager? Will they? Probably, but wouldn't surprise me. And I think Burnley and Leeds, happy to be here. It's got to be one of those kind of mid-table teams that underperforms.
What if Newcastle gets off to just a dreadful start?
So that's tough. The problem is they've given Eddie Howe a lot of power. I mean, they've gone through 2 directors of football because Eddie Howe kind of wanted full control. I think their current guy in charge of transfers is Eddie Howe's nephew, Andy Howe. Yeah. Oh. So Eddie Howe is kind of like weirdly like running the show at Newcastle. So I like your idea, Coach. It's not that far off. It's just like he's been given a lot of power, which may actually in a weird way work against him. But it's also hard. Like if they sell Alexander Isak, there's not much you can do. And I think they've been happy with what Howe has been able to do with the little that he's been given in terms of what they can actually spend. My question is, like, we know that I think the usual window for this, right? The usual, hey, we're making a move occurs around Halloween, a little bit before Thanksgiving in the U.S. calendar. Yep. If Manchester United are sitting the bottom half of the table again, I know it's a little crazy, but like, are they going to sit there after they just spent all this money and let Ruben Amorim come in and gave him time? All last season gave him time, quote, right? It's United. They don't ever give anybody that much time. Do they just sit there and let that happen? Or if there's somebody, like there's a name out there that they like, maybe they move early so that way they don't get snatched up by another club that might move on from their manager around the holiday period.
Here's my question to you. Have they stated expectations yet for the season?
I mean, I would say the amount of money they've spent and patience they had with Ruben Amorim during his really
Champions League football is
they're not going to come out and say it, but like this is a team that needs to create revenue. They have 600 million pounds in debt.
We got to get you into the Italian media because like, that's what the clubs do at the beginning of the year. They all state that top 4 is the goal.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, if they it's really tough for me to say, because on the one hand, can they realistically sustain another bottom half finish? Like I don't think they can. But you've kind of committed to Amorim at this point. You can't really do worse than you did last year. You kind of have to see it through. I mean, look at some of the teams look at Chelsea. They kind of had to really struggle before they were on the come up, and it took them a whole year. They didn't look great for the beginning part of last year, right, under Maresca, but he figured it out. They finished really strong. They won a Club World Cup. You make of that what you will. Look at like a team. I'm jumping leagues, but look at like Roma, right? Roma couldn't figure it out, and new manager came in. It's not exactly the same situation, but all of a sudden, December, January, you take off. United probably still has a few more growing pains to go through. It doesn't mean ownership or leadership or fans should be patient, but if they're looking at it objectively, they kind of have to be patient. I don't see a scenario, unless you tell me he goes on like a 6-7 game losing streak. I don't see a scenario where he's getting fired. That's kind of my take on it.
Yeah. All right, let's move into some of the more interesting props that you can get now as futures, especially in the Premier League. We're doing like just team matchups. So finish higher in the table at the end of the season. Starting off, I know you guys want to go through all these. You want to pick some. I mean, we have 2 slides of them here.
Run through them, and if we got anything interesting, we'll say it. If we don't,
yeah. I mean, the first one is just the relegation battle. I honestly think this one's pretty straightforward. Leeds versus Sunderland. Leeds actually has a decent amount of Premier League talent coming in. Sunderland hasn't really done much in the window. But yeah, Leeds have like William Noto. I think Nick, you used to be a big Noto believer.
Oh, false.
No,
big
false.
Hater.
Opposite. Hater.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Had that inversed. Brendan Aronson, I think, is on Leeds still. So they have some talent there.
My boy Patrick Bamford's still there. The guy who cost me more fucking overs than anybody I can remember.
Not clear. I don't think he is, but I can take a quick peek.
This is what I would say. If your book allows you to...
17 starts, 0 goals, 0 assists.
Garbage.
In championship.
If your book allows you to do so in parlay futures, this Leeds to finish ahead of Sunderland is a fantastic parlay piece. It's not good enough to play, but I think it's as automatic as anything else on this sheet. I'm with you, Scott.
All right, let's skip into the more interesting ones. United and Tottenham, the two underperformers from last season. Obviously, Tottenham getting the best of United and moving into Champions League in the Europa final. United has done more business, but Tottenham have brought in a manager. So, where do you guys see this one falling? Do you obviously United getting the nod here and the odds? Do you follow that? Do you think United are going to manage to be above Tottenham in this? I mean, based off of what we've been talking about, we've liked United as far as like a potential top 6 team, whereas Nick, you were the first to call out Spurs bottom 10.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let somebody talk me out of that. I think United, even at minus 135, it's a fun little bet here. If somebody wants to talk me out of that, I'll let you have the floor.
No, I mean, the only thing I could say is, like I said, if United start off slow and then they have to go to a new manager, you know, it's tough to continuously change systems. You know, Morm had his system. He wants to play a 3-5-3 or whatever it is, 3-5-1-2. So that would be the only tricky part. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they have enough proven Premier League talent between Mbeumo and Cunha, now working with Bruno Fernandes, that they're going to score plenty of goals. I think the defense last year for United was like actually decent. Like it wasn't bad. They just couldn't score. So yeah, I mean, I think they're sitting top 8, top 9 at the worst. Whereas Spurs, you could tell me they finished in 13th this season, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I agree. It's United.
I think I think there's gonna be a lot of agreement going forward with these next ones.
Yeah, I think the only one that really sticks out to me, so Newcastle versus Villa.
Villa plus 125 all day.
That's
long.
probably the only long shot I'm taking in this page, right? I think
all day long.
Talked about our concerns with Newcastle. Villa have been doing pretty well. Unai Emery, I think, has kind of gotten this team firing. They had a really good attack in the second half of last season. See if they can get off to a similar start. They also have to hold on to Ollie Watkins, so maybe that's the tricky part. He could be on the move.
Rashford's gone, which insane to me that he wound up at Barca. Like just all the teams he could have gone to. Like
Barca can't afford anybody; they have no money,
fair.
So it's a loan. They're just paying wages.
Is Marino still there, or that was a loan?
That's a good question.
Oh, he was with Arsenal. I'm sorry, getting confused. Was he? Which was?
Well, Mikel Marino was with Arsenal.
Who was the Spanish international that went to Villa? I'm getting them confused now. I'm so sorry.
What you're talking about? It's my tongue. But I think
you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, but he's not there.
Okay.
West Ham haven't done much. Yeah.
No, it's Villa for sure.
Okay. West Ham, Fulham. I kind of
I would take a stab at West Ham.
I'll probably take West Ham. I said that was going to be my plus number with Villa. I'll probably take West Ham.
Sensio, thank you, Ben. Appreciate you.
Graham Potter actually did pretty well with West Ham, I think, when he came in. I think they actually had a little bit of a run there, so maybe he kind of stabilized things. Again, not going to be a guy that's taken this West Ham team to the top 10, but 12th, sure. And we'd already talked about Fulham. They haven't really done much, for better or for worse. They could be in the relegation battle. So I'll take West Ham on this one.
All right. Shout out Ben in the comments. Asensio was the loan. He's back at PSG. That's who was with Villa.
Gotcha. And then the last one we'll talk about on this page, Arsenal versus Liverpool. I mean, it's interesting from a competitive standpoint. We kind of talked about it in terms of like league challenge. We went kind of with City as our pick for the twin league at plus 300. Arsenal does solve their biggest hole with Victor Yorquez coming in, being their true center forward striker, proven goal scorer, can play with, Saka and Martinelli and in front of Odegaard. We know their defense is, at least their center back pairing is probably as strong as anything that you'll find in the league. The midfield pairing of Declan Rice and Zubamendi probably going to be as strong of a holding pivot as you'll see in the league. Do they have enough to compete with Liverpool? Can they, if we think City have a chance at winning the league, do we think that means Liverpool are nailed down for second as their worst case scenario, or do we see a situation where Arsenal can kind of sneak in front of them?
So yeah, that's what I want to pose back to you and Coach. And listen, I'm on record thinking Liverpool is going to repeat. I think Steve said that as well. I know Scotty's hoping for that. Would you rather take Liverpool at a little bit of a juicy number? Minus 135. I wish it was a little closer to even money. Are you taking this particular bet, over plus 180 to win the league because there's a lot more variables to win the league. I think regardless if they win the league or not, Liverpool do finish ahead of Arsenal. I almost personally like this bet better. I don't know if you guys agree or not.
Yeah, because like I said, I think City are probably the best challenger in terms, because again, proven commodity. We know what Pep can do over the course of a season. I think Arteta weirdly is the biggest question mark on this Arsenal team right now.
Trust the process. 7 years in a row.
Yeah, I don't know if we talked about it last pod or the pod before, but Arteta could be a guy that's weirdly on the hot seat, right? Like, there's no excuses left for Mikel Arteta to not put in a true, title charge, full stop, from August 14th or 15th all the way through May, because he's gotten every player he needs at this point. He's got depth across the board. If you can't sneak into the top, 2 here and put together a true title charge, I think it's time to go, right? Like, if you're sitting at, end of November, early December, right after that international break, and Arsenal are sitting in like 5th or 6th and haven't had great results, he's on the hot seat for sure.
Yeah, I think eliminating City from the equation is not a bad idea. But of course, this has to be a parlay piece, right? At -1.
No, sure. I mean, fictional money, right?
Throw Liverpool and Leeds in this, right? That should make your number like plus 150, plus 145-ish.
At least. I would do it.
All right. I think we only got a couple of these. We can kind of pick any of these that you want to look at. Obviously, Tottenham, Arsenal.
I don't even know
love that, but that's just not happening. There's
no copy and paste. My bad. I mean,
no, it's all good. I mean, look at the options. I mean, we just talked about Arsenal and Liverpool. The same could be said for City and Liverpool. Honestly, City at plus 110 here, that's almost more interesting to me. But yeah, any other?
But then, I mean, I would go the opposite, because if you think City's finishing ahead of Liverpool, I think they're winning the league. So I'm going back to the plus 300.
All right. That's fine. Fair.
If
you're an Arsenal believer, this is the bet for you then, I guess.
Exactly. That's what I would say.
The only other one I'll call out, United versus Liverpool. We see a world where United finish above Pool on the table.
You're not taking United over Newcastle?
That's the one I was going to say, plus 125.
Yeah. Oh,
that's
okay.
the one that jumps out at me.
Yeah, that one's
based
fine.
on what we said in the other segments.
We're just selling Newcastle.
Give me Nottingham Forest over Bournemouth. I think that's kind of silly. Basically a toss-up.
Yeah. I think that's fine too. I mean, I like what Areola has done. I think they were really competitive for about like 2 months between November and January last season, then kind of dropped off. But yeah, I think over the course of a full season, I'm a believer in Forest. So anything else you guys want to go through? You want to kind of move on to our team? We have the top 3 teams specific trophy combinations. This one I think we can kind of breeze through a little bit, but if we are a believer in City winning the league, do we want to see if they can parlay that into any of the domestic cups or even a Champions League trophy as well? We know with City, usually when they have their good teams, they do win trebles, right? That's happened a couple times with Pep. Have yet to win a quad.
That's the only thing on this list that's worth getting out of bed for. I think these odds are brutally low for any sort of double, quite honestly.
I mean, if you think Chelsea at plus 300 is interesting for the league, usually they do pretty well in either the FA or the League Cup. Liverpool have been doing pretty well in the League Cup, so I think that's the only reason why they haven't gotten one lately. But yeah, I wouldn't mind like a City and FA Cup at plus 1400, especially if they don't. If you get knocked out of the Champions League, in March, that's all you have left besides your league push. So I wouldn't mind that at plus 1400. Just invest in it. Why not? I mean, we'll see what happens. You can cash out if you need to. I mean, FA Cup won't be done until, unless they lose early, it won't be done until May. As long as they win like their game in January and their game in February, you have plenty of time to cash out on this one. Similarly for Arsenal, very similar odds. Maybe surprising, not surprising.
Low for all this shit.
This one I don't think I would touch, because I don't know that Arsenal has really ever done well in like a true knockout style tournament. The only reason why you're touching this one is if you're an Arsenal fan and you want to go for like all out, say Premier League and Champions, like even that plus 1400 is crazy.
That's what I mean. So like you're
like,
talking about
what's their number to win the Champions League, right? Like as a solo.
When was the last time they won a trophy? Not like this is not
it's been like 24 years. It's been a while. Yeah.
So now you're telling me they're going to win 2 and you're only giving me plus 1200 odds?
Yeah, that's not fair.
That's insane. This should be plus 5,000. Because if they're winning the Premier League and that's where they're putting their eggs, there's absolutely no way they give a shit about any of these other League Cups.
Yeah. No, that's tough. I was going to say even like an FA Cup and League Cup, which are the 2 lesser of the 4 trophies here, it's still not enough.
Yeah.
And then Liverpool, if you like them to win the league, Liverpool does perform well in the League Cup. And I will say one of the biggest things when we talk about what teams perform well in the domestic teams are teams that have good backup keepers. And again, Liverpool probably have the best backup keeper in the league with Marmadashvili. So even if you're playing with some of the youth players like Ario and Gamoa, if you're going to put in Chiesa in as, you know, a playing forward.
Yes, he's going to be there at this point.
I mean, listen, unfortunately, Diego Jota is no longer with us. I think they need to kind of keep some depth because they've sold Luis Diaz. They're going to sell Darwin Nunez.
Yeah, fair.
Even if they bring in Isak, they're going to need depth. So I'm thinking Chiesa is going to stick around for another season, for better or for worse.
So now let's go back to the very first thing we spoke about. If we like Liverpool to win the league, which I think the 3 of us do at plus 180, give me a Premier League and an FA Cup, or give me a Premier League and a League Cup. You'd have to educate me on which one they're more likely to win. But now this turns into an acceptable value for me. I could kind of dig those 2 on this one. I'm
not, a normal guy to just throw money on Liverpool like this, but honestly, I would go Premier League and Champions League and League Cup because they were the top of the table in the Champions League last season. They got a tough draw against the eventual winners, PSG, and took them to penalty kicks in the first knockout stage. They're arguably better this year than they were last year. Who else improved, right? Nobody else really improved the level that Liverpool has across Europe. So I think they're better prepared for PSG. I think their midfield will be a lot more refreshed. I think their attack will be speedier and more likely to convert, right? That was their big issue is, aside from the Harvey Elliott 88th minute counterattack, they really didn't have anything going forward because everything was centered around Salah and Nunez. What's his name? Oh my God, I'm blanking on their left back's name. Not Nunez. Whatever. Their PSG's left back pocketed Salah.
Oh God, PSG. God, he was so good. Fucking Portuguese kid.
Yes.
Mendes.
Man. It was Mendes. Okay, Nuno Mendes. Yes. I said Mendes, and I was like, so okay. Yeah, Nuno Mendes pocketed Salah, and they had nothing going forward. Now between Verts, between Ekitike, between Rio and Gamoa or Gakpo, who I don't think was available. I think he was hurt during that period of time. Should be able to create more attacking moving forward. So I like the 3. Give me plus 4,000. Give me the League Cup because I think FA Cup with Champions League, and that's a lot going into the last 2 months of the season. So I'll take those 3. Yeah, plus 4,000.
Just quick interruption. Shout out everybody in the chat. Appreciate you. We're gonna have to throw Ben and John we're gonna have to get them on screen because they're cleaning up every player that we can't name. They got us. So shout out you guys. No, Scotty, I'm kind of with you. I mean, you're making a strong case. There's definitely worse long shots that you could take for plus 4,000, but I definitely can see a double of some sort with this team. You hit the nail on the head. The one thing you didn't mention that I would like to mention, it doesn't always work out, but it's great to build on when you're winning. Continuity of coaching, year 2 of a system, year 2 of player familiarity. And now you have that belief of, hey, we know what we need to do to correct the one mistake we made last year, or, whatever it is. So I kind of dig it.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't mind taking a shot on something like that for plus 4,000 because we agree that we think Liverpool's going to repeat, right? Win the league. Like Scotty said, they performed well in Champions League, lost the eventual champs. Maybe they get a rematch in the final or something against PSG, right? If things go right. So obviously,
over under trophies.
Yeah,
that would be so much cooler.
Yeah, three would be because then you could
1.5
over 2.5 trophies like all day.
Yeah. But then you got a lot in play. It's going to take a lot, but at plus 4,000, it's you could throw $20 on something like this, and it's an $800 profit if it comes through. So
Or you could
it's
just
a
hedge
low
too.
risk, it's
Right.
a low risk high reward type bet, which is
If
what makes it
Liverpool
attractive.
make it to the Champions League finals, you're talking about a hedge easily of plus 3,000 or better.
Quarters, semis. I mean, there's if you're reaching, chances are if you're in the quarterfinals, you're playing a quality opponent. So you will have your opportunity to go against it if you need to.
All right. Reaching the 1 hour mark, so we got some player props left to go through, and then we'll kind of wrap things up with a little Community Shield action. But Golden Boot. Last year, obviously, Salah kind of ran away with it. 29 league goals. Also threw in like 19 or 20 assists. I don't know if he got to 20. I think it was 19 assists.
A lot of players with 15 goals, man. That's like a pretty. I don't think any other league on the planet has this.
So looking through the list, obviously Haaland and Salah sitting atop at plus 130, plus 450. Isak at plus 600, depending what team he plays for. I'm guessing if he moves to Liverpool, that number would change. Probably goes down, but who's to say? Talked about Arsenal's new man, Victor Yorquez, leading the line. Good opportunity. I mean, he scored, 39 in Portugal. Cole Palmer for bounce back, plus 1,800. Yao Pedro, I hate that one, but plus 2,000, but that's fine. We'll throw that in there. And then some interesting numbers. So Hugo Ekitike, who's currently Liverpool's starting center forward, sitting at plus 2,000, is going to get plenty of service from Salah, from Verts, from Kirkez, from Jeremy Frimpong. Plus 2,000 is a pretty good number unless you're convinced Isak is coming, and that's going to relegate Ekitike to the bench. Watkins at plus 2,500 could be on the move, maybe could be moving to Newcastle if that rumored transfer of Isak to Liverpool goes through. Solanke at Spurs, I think that's a tough one at plus 2,500. Marmoush at City being the second fiddle to Haaland at plus 4,000. Cunha at plus 4,000 at United, maybe a little bit more interesting. But list goes on. You can kind of take your pick. If you want, I'll just throw up some really long shots here for people who are at home if you want to really get deep. Baby. But I think the winner of this bet is probably going to be on the first page here. Any interesting names? Any hot prospects? Who do you guys like?
Coach, look like you're ready to say something. Yeah,
I would say Isak at plus 600 is a pretty decent number. If you lock it in knowing that he's going to go to Liverpool and then it drops after, because I think it does drop if he goes to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Haaland, of course, is the favorite for a reason, and big favorite for a reason, because if he stays healthy, he tends to win this
best striker in Europe
going away, right? Salah's going to miss time for AFCON. That's going to be something that takes away from him. Could also take away from the Liverpool strikers scoring goals because less service coming in, right? If he's really tearing up on the assist sheet too. I mean, Cunha at plus 4,000 obviously has some value, but if the Sesko move goes through, Sesko becomes number one striker, right? So I think that is, I'd be interested to see if that goes through what his number is when he comes, if he comes. Maybe there's value in Sesko if he comes and he's like plus 1,000 or something. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm just throwing a number out there, but I think of possible, likely winners, I think Isak at plus 600 makes the most sense. If you think he's going to Liverpool.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. So last year, I'll say, shout out us. I'll brag again quickly. We did have Salah, and glad that came through. I am avoiding and I'm advising anybody who's listening to avoid any African players for this award in an AFCON year, because you are missing likely 2, 3, 4 weeks of game time. A lot of these guys, even if they come back, they don't come back healthy. It's just what happens. So I'd be really hard in my mind for Salah to repeat that. Like we said, he's going to have a different look forward line with him one way or the other. So maybe he's better for another bet that we're going to talk about in a second. Isak, I'm with you, is solid. Listen, I'm always going to advise against the top pick anyway. Like Haaland, you guys mentioned it. There's no comparison to him on this league and on this sheet in terms of pure goal scoring talent. Can he stay healthy? They're going to be in a lot of competitions. He didn't stay healthy last year. Still put in 22 goals or whatever it was. But if you miss a month, tough for even a guy like Haaland to overcome that. So I am looking to some of these other guys. I think Cole Palmer in a down year having 15 goals, his upside, his potential, he takes penalties, he takes free kicks. 25 goals isn't out of the realm of possibility for Cole Palmer, plus 1,800. I don't mind it. Ollie Watkins, again, if he is on the move, I actually like his number even better. So plus 2,500 if you think he could bounce back. And I'm saying bounce back. Another guy who I think had a down year who had 15 plus goals. I think those two are interesting. And you mentioned Cunha. I mean, plus 4,000, and he's going to be very likely leading the line. That's not bad either. So those are the three I'm willing to take a shot with.
Stunned nobody's taking Victor Yorkes, because that's really Arsenal's only hope this year. We kind of talked about it last week.
Yeah,
if Arsenal want to compete, Yorkes has to have 20 plus goals.
So I said it last week. I should repeat it here, and I think he's on the over-unders that we're about to go through. Very good player. He's had two very good years. That's all he's had in his career. And coming to England after being in Portugal is going to be a lot of a step up. So let me see that he can do it before I'm willing to wager on him. If that number was plus 1,500, plus 1,000, I'm much more likely to look at it, but I'm not taking him over an Isak in this scenario, or Palmer, who's proven in the league. Let me see it from him first. But yeah, he's, let's see when he has two big center backs on him for 90 minutes.
Yeah. I'll just cover some of the long shots, maybe throw them on your list, put a little bit of a, half unit here or there, cash in if you want to early. Brian Mbeumo, 20 goal scorer playing at United. Even if Sesko comes in, Mbeumo is going to be playing off of him. I don't see Mbeumo not starting for United week in and week out. So, if he can be another 20 goal scorer at plus 5,000, you'll probably get a nice little bump, unless he's like, 10 goals back come Christmas. But I'm guess he's probably going to be in the top 5 for goals scored in the Premier League this season. And as long as he keeps it close, you might be able to cash out. No. Going further down, or maybe equal. Liam Delap probably leading the line for Chelsea. We talked about Chelsea being in the top 4. He's going to have to score goals. I know he's relatively an unproven commodity coming off of a team that was relegated last season, but if Chelsea are going to perform well, they're going to need him to score goals. And there's plenty of creativity around him, right? So he'll have plenty of opportunities. Kai Havertz at plus 5,000. Just kidding. Do not take Kai Havertz at plus 1,000. Worst pick on the list. Just seeing if Nick was paying attention. The last one, plus 8,000. Kostulas is the 18-year-old going to Brighton. We know Brighton has an incredible track record for scouting talent, developing them, and then selling them for 80 for 120 million pounds to Chelsea or Liverpool or the likes. Evan Ferguson obviously looks great for them at times during his first season with them. Now playing for Coach's Roma side. Could he be another Evan Ferguson type that has a hot streak? Maybe. Just want to keep an eye on. I think he only had like 10 goals last year in for Olympiacos, so he's not like a lethal striker as it is. But like I said, you're playing on a Brighton team that has plenty of talent around it. Matoma should be healthy this season, and I trust Brighton's scouting network more than anybody else in the Premier League. So if they like him, he must be pretty good. Might be worth just a little bit. All right. Last few here. Assists. I think this one for me, I like Wirtz a lot. He's going to have so many players around him between Salah, Ekitike, maybe Isak, Gakpo. Soboslai will probably be competitive in goal scoring this year a bit more. I think Wirtz at plus 450 is my favorite in this whole list. Saka now having an out-and-out striker with Gorkez maybe is the only real threat. That'd be my idea. Any numbers you guys like on here, even long shots going down?
I like the Wirtz number at plus 450. I think he's going to create a lot for them. Yep. And if Isak comes and he's already got Ekitike and Salah for most of the year, I think that's a really solid number. And I think the value increases because Salah goes to AFCON, right? Salah's a favorite because he had 18 last year. He's going to miss some time. Wirtz won't. And if Wirtz really integrates right away, I think he's the value play at plus 450.
Agree with that. I don't think Bruno Fernandes is a bad shout. Plus 900. I mean, I don't know that he has it in him necessarily, but if we expect the team to improve, that's a really solid number because he's a super talented player. I don't know that he's going to get the starts, but you guys know Cherokee is my guy. Plus 2,500 is a really good number. He had to have had double digits last year with Lyon. I mean, he's just really an exceptional player. I think if Wirtz doesn't come, he's the midfielder that's talked about the most coming into Premier League. But City's, Rodri's back, right? City's midfield. Who knows what Pep's going to cook, what his role is going to be. He's still only 21 years old. I don't know that he gets the starts to really make a dent and get to those double digits, because you're going to need to have double digits to win this one. But I just want to shout him out because I like the player a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say the weird thing here is, of the top 5 players, none of them are playing with the odds-on favorite for Golden Boot, right? First one you get to is Savio. That's a City player, and then Cherokee is obviously a little bit further down below that, and then Foden and Doku all down, halfway down this list. Very interesting stat, because you would assume the guy that's going to generate the most amount of goals is going to have to be assisted a few times. So yeah, I think the problem there is, like, I just don't know who is going to be a locked on starter, around him, right? Like Foden had a down season. He should be a locked on starter. Let's see if he can bounce back from that. Savio, I think, has shown a lot of creativity, probably more so and at least more consistent than Doku. So I could see him being a starter. Marmouche was brought in to kind of be that player that sits off of Holland. He's obviously been gone for AFCON for a certain amount of time, but not maybe necessarily a true assist player. So
no, it almost seems like Pep likes bringing him off the bench. Like, I don't think he likes playing them together, or at least he hasn't yet.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. So that's my only, like, if you take a stab, if you really like Foden at plus 4,000 because you think he's going to have a bounce back season and he's going to be feeding, the best striker in Europe, I wouldn't hate that. All right, I think we got one more. Best goalkeeper, Gold Gloves. Basically, you can be most clean sheets, right? So, who among this list stands out to you guys? Obviously, Raya playing in front of maybe the best defense from the last season with Arsenal. I don't love Ederson at City.
Who won the award last year?
I think it was Raya for Arsenal.
I guess that would make sense. I mean, I don't know if you're giving me Allison, who I think is actually the best goalkeeper on the list.
Yeah.
Plus 250.
But also gets hurt a lot.
I know. Tough.
Yeah.
Tough.
So it was shared with Raya and Matt Sells, who's at plus 3,500 from Nottingham Forest. Those are the two that split the Golden Gloves.
Forest had a pretty good defense last year, but is it going to happen again? I don't know. Yeah, I think you'd have to really look at these defenses and say, like, oh, this defense is solid. They're going to get some 0-0s or 1-0s, especially against lower side clubs. Maybe you find a value play like the Forest keeper ended up being last year. The numbers aren't big enough at the top to take in those top 3 players.
No, this is one too. I would say wait a month and a half. I mean, these numbers for the long shots are not going to drastically shift. So if you see there's a team that's overperforming from the defensive standpoint, or maybe that's when you go in and take a shot with one of these guys.
Yeah, I will say the interesting thing here is two of the top 4 top 4 players on this list play for the same team. So between Ederson and James Trafford, whichever one you think is going to be starting for City, but go ahead and put money on them if you really like City's defense, which Rodri is back, right? That's like the big thing for City's defense, but they were not a strength of City last season. So
no, you just got to hope that they have more of the ball than they have.
Yeah. And I lied. We do have one more. It's the over-under for goals. We got a few key players. Bruno Fernandes, Brian Mbeumo, Bukayo Saka. Sorry, it's been a long pod. Cole Palmer, Solanke at 14.5, which is crazy. Holland, 24.5. Verts, 8.5. Seems a little low. Ekitike, 13.5. Where do you guys stand? Is there anybody here you want to sell right away? We'll do the buys, like the players that we think will hit overs. Are there any unders on this list that you want to just call out from the jump?
I don't think Saka hits 14 goals. Not now. Not with this is league goals for anybody. This is league goals. Yep. Just so we're clear on that. 14 league goals is a lot for him now that they have new offensive firepower. I don't think he's going to need to carry that burden.
Yeah. I think Ekitike, if Isak comes in, that over becomes very hard for him.
Man, I completely forgot that Solanke existed. Like, he's a Spurs.
He was hurt. Yeah, he was hurt. I mean, Son is out now.
So
he's probably the main guy next to Mohamed Kudus. So
he could be an under guy as well.
Yeah.
Is he going to stay healthy? Yeah. Has he scored 15 before? The year that he got the transfer, he scored 50.
Yeah.
He was up
there.
Yeah.
He was doing well. Cole Palmer, 17.
Say
That's
17
high.
is kind of a high number
With
for him.
Liam Delap now being the guy that leads the line, and Pedro Neto's kind of nailed on the wing, and Cole Palmer's playing probably more as a 10.
Listen, man, I'll go back to what I said when we looked at top goal scorer. He had a down year last year, and he had 16 goals.
Yeah.
So if he goes back to form, not out of the question that he passes that.
Yeah. All right. Anybody on this list that you
Wirtz is okay too.
9
goals
for under? Because I was gonna say anybody you want to buy now, anybody that you want to take their over on, because there's a couple that stand out. I think Wirtz is the first.
I'm over on Wirtz. Those are the two.
I'm going Wirtz and Mbeumo. Mbeumo was a 20 goal scorer last season for Brentford, and I think he's gonna have a lot more freedom, especially if Sesko comes on. He's not gonna necessarily be the number one guy that defense is key on. So I like Mbeumo. I think he can get 15 goals this season.
Yeah, I don't mind that 12 goals, even if Sesko comes in. Like you said, I think he's been playing off him more than on the bench, so I think that makes a lot of sense there.
Where's our boy Hedge, man? You were in the chat there, and you went silent. Got your boy?
All right. Do you guys want to look at Community Shield Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern, Liverpool, champions of the Premier League, taking on Crystal Palace, winners of the FA Cup, first major trophy. Odds are not favorable for our friends Crystal Palace. Certainly looking more like a Liverpool, what would you say? Coronation. I'm trying to think about how you would start like the league. They're going to start the league off on the right foot, kind of like a welcome back for Liverpool.
Was there another slide in this, Scotty, or this was the end?
I believe this was. Oh no, sorry, there's a couple more.
I know we didn't talk about Gyökeres and
bring
it up.
Gyökeres, yeah, you know where I stand with Gyökeres. I think if Arsenal want to be champions of England, Gyökeres is going to have to score 20 or more goals. But I don't think it just because he scores 20 that makes him champions. I think that's one of the requirements, one of probably like a handful of requirements. Do I think he can get 20? I guess the number's 19. No, I think I'm going to take under on this one, honestly. I think he's going to struggle to adjust. He played okay in the championship, but this is like a different level in England compared to obviously when he was in Portugal and then prior to that in the championship. But yeah, I'll take the under on that one. It's hard to come in and score 20, 19, whatever, in your first season in the Premier League. He's 26, 27, 26. Yeah. So it's, I don't know. Him walking in and putting in 20 would be incredible. I just don't see it happening.
I completely agree with that. I think I'm under on him. I'm probably under on Salah, quite honestly. Just
AFCON, he doesn't have to do as much.
Last year, AFCON, Cunha. Now, as of today, with the squad that they have, I can probably go over. But
yeah, I'm definitely higher in Mbeumo than Cunha for United, for sure. I think Cunha really. He's one of those guys that like he's a head case, right? Like, if he's not happy about something, he's not gonna perform well.
For sure.
If he gets benched for some reason, if they want to have a different formation, and he kind of plays a similar position to Bruno Fernandes too, right? Like you don't really want Cunha playing right wing. You probably want Diallo on the right wing. You probably want Fernandes playing the 10. You're going to want Sesko as the striker. You're going to want Mbeumo on your left wing.
Yeah.
Cunha might struggle a little bit this season.
This could be a straight sheet of unders. Pedro, you can't go minus 155. So
no,
do there.
For sure.
Stupid line. Like, why would they set that? Set it at 12.5 and give me a minus 110. No, it just doesn't make any sense.
All right. So yeah, like I said, we have Crystal Palace versus Liverpool in the Community Shield in 4 days. It's really the kickoff to the season. Liverpool minus 175, Crystal Palace plus 390. The total over 2.5 is set at minus 140. So anything you guys were looking at in this, do you want me to just kind of throw in some of the stuff that I liked, or how do you want to go?
You're not going to like it.
No, please.
You're not going to like it. Just
hit me.
Know this. First half to score goal 1, Liverpool even money.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You
always bet against Liverpool scoring first.
Yeah,
I'd say
they get off to it in this one.
Liverpool minus a goals even money.
Yeah,
Asian handicap. Talk
The
about how
one,
all the talent Palace lost, right? They probably win by multiple goals here.
I think so. I think you can get silly and have Liverpool to score 2.5 goals at plus 200.
yeah,
But like 3 goals, over 2.5 team total.
yeah. That's the pick that I like is Liverpool and over 2.5 is plus 120. They've been scoring tons in the preseason. I think that's going to continue. Their defense hasn't been great, so I think Palace are going to get one. But the good news is I don't know if Eze is going to be playing in this one. He might be off to a new team, potentially Arsenal. So yeah, I think Palace get 1. I think Liverpool get 3, maybe 4. So that's the pick that I like. All right. I think we're going to wrap there. It's been a long pod. Thank you for sticking through it with all of us. Really excited to see the season kick off. Obviously, we will have a relatively normal episode next week because we have the first week of Premier League. We'll probably throw in a few Italy futures just because there's not usually as many options, but we will cover that. And yeah, we'll have like a true result to kind of overreact to, especially if Crystal Palace beat Liverpool. But again, if you stuck with us this long, thank you very much. Make sure you subscribe over on YouTube. That's growing. That's probably the best way. You'll see when these are scheduled moving forward. Nick, anything else we need to plug?
No, shout out everybody. Appreciate you guys in the chat. Thank you for watching. If you have bets that you like, throw them in the comments, reply to the tweet, whatever you got to do, but we'd love to hear what everybody else is on. So good luck to everybody that's placed in the future. Appreciate you rocking with us, and we'll catch you next week.